Students, today we are doing lesson 3.4. We're going to round decimals. So our essential question that we have to answer at the end of this lesson is how we can use place value to round decimals to a given place. And what we mean by a given place is a given place in the place value chart. So we're going to start with the unlock the problem real world. And we're going to actually talk about frogs today. So over here it says the golden frog of South America is one of the smallest frogs in the world. It is 386 thousandths of an inch long. So it's not even 1 whole inch, boys and girls. What is the length rounded to the nearest hundredth of an inch? So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the directions given in this blue box for us. First, we're going to underline the length of the golden frog. Then, is the frog's length about the same as the length of the width of a large paper clip? So we're going to go into our problem and we're going to underline the length of the frog, which was 386 thousandths of an inch. Now, boys and girls, if we think about it, it is about the width of a large paper clip. So one strategy that we're going to work on today is using a place value chart. And we've talked about using the place value chart. It's a great strategy. We have the bulletin board in the classroom. It's there as a tool, as a reference for you. And tonight when you're working on your homework, you're also going to have a place value chart that you can practice with. That's going to be the first strategy we're going to try today. So first it says write the number in the place value chart and circle the digit in the place value chart which we want to round to. According to this problem, it says that we want to round to the hundredth of an inch, so that's going to be the place value that we're going to circle. So we wrote our number in our place value chart, and what we need to do is we need to circle the hundredths digit because that's what we're going to round to. Next, boys and girls, it says in the place value chart, underline the digit to the right of the place value which we are rounding. So what we're going to do is we're going to look to the right. And I like to do a little arrow, look next door. That's what I like to say because it just helps me remember a little bit easier. And we underline that digit and we see that it is a 6. Now, boys and girls, in the next step it says if the digit to the right, where we made that little baby arrow, is less than 5, the digit in the place value, which you round, stays the same. However, if the digit to the right is 5 or greater, the digit that you have circled will increase by 1. So we look next door, boys and girls, we see this as a 6. Is a 6 greater than 5 or less than 5? That's right. It is greater than 5. So we go back to our circled value, our underlined place value, circled value, which we're going to round, and we are going to make this 8 become a 9. So boys and girls, this last step here says drop the digits after the place value which you are rounding. So we're no longer going to actually have to write anything in the thousandths place. So to the nearest hundredth of an inch, a gold frog is about 39 hundredths of an inch long. And notice, we drop that last place, the thousandths. We're not going to report that. So boys and girls, another strategy is that what we can do is use place value. And when we just use place value, we're lining up by decimal point, and we're not using a place value chart. However, both strategies are important, so I want you to practice both at home. So the little grass frog is the smallest frog in North America. It is 437 thousandths of an inch long. So in step A, boys and girls, what it says is, what is the length of the frog to the nearest hundredth of an inch? So right off the back, I'm going to underline hundredths of an inch because I know that's going to be the digit that I'm going to round. So again, you can use the same strategy. We can circle the hundredths and we can look next door and we see it is a 7. So now, boys and girls, 7 is greater than 5. So what's going to happen to this 3? The 3 is going to round up. So, to the nearest hundredth of an inch, the frog is about 44 hundredths of an inch long. Now, in strategy number B, we're going to use place value again, but we're going to do a little bit of different. So it says, what is the length of the frog to the nearest tenth of an inch? So, boys and girls, now I'm going to underline tenth. We're no longer evaluating the hundredths, so what we're going to do is we're going to circle the digit that's in the tenths place. So we circle 4, and then we make a little baby arrow next door, and we look at number 3. Now, boys and girls, you have to ask yourself, is 3 greater than 5 or less than 5? Well, we know that 3 is less than 5, so when we go back to the circle digit, which it was in the tens place, it's going to stay the same. So notice it says to the nearest tenth of an inch, the frog is about 4/10 of an inch long. And just like in the previous 2 problems, boys and girls, notice the digit after 1 that we rounded to, we dropped that thousandths digit. Now, boys and girls, notice over here in strategy B, we dropped the hundredths digit and we dropped the thousandths digit because remember, we only report the last digit, which was the one that we were rounding to. Now, boys and girls, we have another example that we need to go through, which is about the Goliath frog. So the Goliath frog is the largest frog in the world. It is found in the country of Cameroon in West Africa. And if you look at this frog, it is ginormous. It looks like it's the same size as that kid's head. And he's probably a 5th grader too, I would think. So the Goliath frog can grow to be 11 and 815 thousandths inches long. How long is the Goliath frog to the nearest inch? So now in step 1, boys and girls, we are going to use a place value chart. We're going to write our number in the place value chart. So in our place value chart, we have 11 and 815 thousandths. So now step 2, boys and girls, it says find the place to which we want to round and circle the digit. Well, in the original problem, boys and girls, we wanted to round to the nearest inch. So what we're going to do is we're going to circle inches because that's where we're going to round. Now, in step 3, it says underline the digit to the right of the place value which we are rounding. So we're going to underline this digit, and Miss G likes to do a little arrow next door just to remind you that you're looking next door at your neighbor. Now, boys and girls, it says we're going to round. Think. Does the digit in the rounding place stay the same or increase by 1? Now, boys and girls, if we think to ourselves, 8 is greater than 5. So that means that this 1 would have to round up. So we would now have 12 if we were to round to the nearest place value. Notice again, boys and girls, we got rid of the tenths, we got rid of the hundredths, and we got rid of the thousandths because we only report to the circle digit. So to the nearest inch, the Goliath frog is about 12 inches long. Now, boys and girls, over here it says explain. Why any number less than 2 and 5/10 and greater than or equal to 5, 11, and 5/10 would round to 12 when rounded to the nearest whole number. This is something we're going to discuss in class a little bit more. But that's something I want you to take the time to think about. Now, boys and girls, we're going to try to round this number, and we notice this is a little bit more challenging because we now have a whole number and we have a decimal. So we're going to use step A, round to the nearest hundredth. So right off the back, I'm going to write my number in the place value chart. And remember, our directions were that after we write in our value in the place value chart, we are going to circle the digit we're going to round to. A little extra step that Miss G likes to do is do a little arrow next door and underline the digit to the right. So on the side, we can see that we circled and underlined the digits that we did above to help us round to the nearest hundredth. So if we looked at it, boys and girls, we would say 0 is less than 5. So we know that that hundredths digit would stay the same. So we would report our digit 14 and 603 thousandths to be 14 and 60 hundredths. Now in step B, boys and girls, we're going to round to the nearest whole number, which is a little bit different because we're going to make sure that we round to the nearest whole number first. So again, we're going to write the same value in the place value chart, and we're going to round to the first nearest whole number, which is 4. Now, boys and girls, remember we look to the right of the 4, and we see to the right of the 4 there's a 6. We underline that 6, and we make a little arrow to look next door. Boys and girls, 6 is greater than 5, so 4 in the ones column would have to round up to 15. Notice, boys and girls, we circled and underlined the digits that we did above to help us round to the nearest whole number. So 14 and 603 thousandths would be rounded to the nearest whole number of 15. So, boys and girls, in this lesson, we were able to use a place value chart or lining up by a decimal place to help us round numbers. And remember, the digit that we want to round, we always circle that number, we make an arrow, and we look next door. The number that is next door is going to determine whether we round up 1 or if this digit stays the same. Remember, boys and girls, if the digit that we are looking at next door is greater than 5, our circled number would go up by 1. However, if the number is less than 5 next door, our circled number would stay the same.